These 5 real Craigslist horror stories prove one thing: some deals cost more than money, and some you never escape. Eli wasn't the type to take risks, especially not with strangers on the internet. He kept his doors locked, never shared his location, and ignored anything online that gave him even a hint of unease. But that night, desperation got the better of him. He just moved into a tiny one-bedroom apartment. The only furniture he had was a mattress on the floor and a camping chair. After hours of scrolling, his back aching from sitting on the floor, he opened Craigslist and browsed the free stuff section. That's when he saw it. Free couch, clean, non-smoking home. Side door open, just take it, no strings attached. The couch in the photo looked perfect, modern, cream-colored, barely used. He messaged the number listed, hoping it wasn't already taken. The reply came fast. Still available? Come before midnight. That should have been enough to set off alarm bells, but Eli needed it. He wanted to believe this was just someone moving out, too busy to deal with people, looking to get rid of things quickly. The address was about 25 minutes away in a quiet suburban neighborhood. When he arrived, it was nearly 11:30 p.m. The house was dark, no porch light, no cars, no signs of life. As he stepped onto the path, a motion light blinked on. It cast long shadows over the yard. He noticed the side gate was open, just like the listing said. So was the side door. He called out, "Hello, I'm here for the couch." No answer. The door creaked as he pushed it open. The house was cold and smelled faintly of bleach. Empty, except for the couch sitting in the middle of what looked like a living room. The walls were bare, the windows were covered. He stepped closer and noticed something odd behind the couch. Papers, dozens of them taped to the wall in neat rows. Printed emails, Craigslist replies, names, messages, dates. He read a few. "Still interested in the table. Can I come grab the chairs tonight? I'll be there by 10. Then his stomach dropped. He saw his own message. "Hey, I can come by late if that works. Couch looks great." Printed, highlighted, pinned in the center. He stepped back. Something was wrong. He turned to the door. Closed, and he hadn't closed it. He reached for the knob. Locked. Panic set in. He hurried to the front of the house, but the front door was chained from the inside. He tried his phone. No signal. Wi-Fi was dead. Footsteps creaked overhead. Slow, heavy, deliberate. Eli stared at the ceiling. He needed to get out. He ran into the kitchen and locked the door behind him. His breathing was shallow, his mind racing. On the counter, he saw a knife. Old and dull, but it felt better than nothing. Then came the breathing. On the other side of the wall. Deep and steady. Close. His eyes shot to the window above the sink. It was open just a few inches. He climbed onto the counter, shoved it up, and squeezed his way through. Glass tore at his jacket and scraped his side as he dropped onto the dirt outside. He didn't look back. He ran to his car and didn't stop until he found a gas station with lights and people. That's where he called the police. They investigated. The house was abandoned. No utilities, no furniture, no papers on the walls. Just dust and cobwebs. The listing? Deleted. Gone. 2 weeks passed. Eli didn't go near Craigslist again. But then, one night, he got a message from an unknown number. "Still need furniture." There was a photo attached. A dresser. Behind it, a wall covered in printed messages. New ones. Names, emails, and in the bottom corner of the frame, barely in view,
A fresh reply. Not Eli's. Someone else's. Someone who hadn't arrived yet, but soon would. No strings attached.
Jason was desperate. After months of searching, juggling bills, and barely scraping together enough for rent, the Craigslist ad seemed like a godsend. Roommate needed, no deposit required, quiet home, great location, utilities included. The photo showed a clean, modest room with a window overlooking a quiet street. The rent was suspiciously low, too good to be true, but Jason was out of options. He messaged the number. The reply came quickly, friendly but vague. "Come by for a visit tonight. No deposit, just bring your stuff." Jason's gut warned him to be cautious, but exhaustion and hope pushed him forward. The house was on a dead-end street, a neat little bungalow with freshly painted siding. The front porch light flickered, casting shifting shadows. No car in the driveway. Jason wondered if the current roommate was out or if he'd be meeting the landlord himself. He rang the doorbell. No answer. He knocked again, louder this time. The door creaked open. Jason stepped inside, calling out, "Hello? I'm here about the room." No response. The house smelled faintly of cleaning products and something else, something metallic. Jason's eyes adjusted to the dimness. The living room was almost empty except for a worn couch and a small table. The floorboards creaked under his feet as he made his way down the hallway. He paused outside the bedroom door, which was slightly ajar. Inside, the room was clean but sparsely furnished. A mattress on the floor, a dresser, and a window with blinds half closed. Jason set his bag down and sat on the bed. Then he noticed the walls. They were covered, not with posters or pictures, but with dozens of photographs taped in a grid, all black and white and grainy. Jason leaned closer. The photos were of people, young and old, taken from behind, faces obscured, some blurred. They were pinned tightly, overlapping slightly, covering almost every inch of the wall. A shiver ran down his spine. He heard a door close somewhere else in the house. "Hello?" Jason called out. No answer. Then a soft sound, a whispering, barely audible, coming from the hallway. He stood up, heart pounding. A voice, barely above a breath, seemed to say, "You can stay, but you have to play the game." Jason spun around. The hallway was empty. Suddenly, the front door slammed shut with a violent bang. He rushed to it, pulling on the handle. It was locked tight. He banged on the door, shouting, but no one answered. His phone was dead. No signal. Jason backed away, eyes darting around the darkened room. That's when he saw it. A small notebook resting on the dresser. Curious despite himself, he opened it. Inside were lists of names, dates, times, and notes beside each. Some said stayed, others left early, and a few simply gone. The last entry was dated the day before. Jason's name was written there. A chilling realization swept over him. He wasn't the first. The whisper came again, closer this time. "You're part of the family now." The lights flickered and went out. Jason was trapped. Days later, a neighbor found Jason's bag on the porch, but no sign of him. The house was empty once more, waiting for the next message to arrive on Craigslist. Roommate needed, no deposit. No one ever learned what happened inside that quiet bungalow, but the photos on the wall told a dark story. One of those who came looking for a fresh start and never left. It was just supposed to be a side gig. Tyler was in between jobs, his student loan payments looming over him like a thundercloud. So when he saw the Craigslist post, "Help wanted, delivery driver, no experience necessary," he figured it couldn't hurt to check it out. The ad was short, just a phone number and a vague job description. No company name, no details, but it offered $250 a night in cash. He texted the number. The reply came quickly. "Pick up at 8 p.m. sharp. Address 704 Ellery Street. Wear dark clothes. No questions." Something about it felt off, but Tyler needed the money. He didn't have time to overthink it. Ellery Street was mostly abandoned warehouses and chain-link fences. Tyler found the address, a gray building with boarded-up windows. At exactly 8 p.m., a man in a hoodie stepped out of the shadows. No introduction, no smile. "You're the driver?" the man asked. "Yeah," I replied. The man handed him a GPS device, an old model with a cracked screen and a plain cardboard box. "Deliver this to the address that pops up. Leave it on the doorstep. No knocking, no talking. Don't open it, don't look back." I blinked. "What's in the box?" The man's stare hardened. No questions. The first delivery was to a suburban house on the edge of town. Lights off, no cars in the driveway. I did as I was told, placed the box on the porch and walked away. As I got back into my car, I looked in the rearview mirror. The front door had opened. A figure stood in the doorway, unmoving, watching. The second night was similar. New location, same routine, same box. Except this time, when Tyler returned to his car, the GPS glitched, the screen flickered, then flashed a new address on its own. He hadn't pressed anything. When he arrived at the new location, an overgrown house at the edge of a wooded lot, the air felt heavier. He stepped out of the car, box in hand, and immediately noticed the door was already open. Not cracked, wide open. Still, he approached cautiously and placed the box just inside the threshold. As he turned to leave, he thought he heard something, a whisper like someone saying his name. He froze. "Tyler." I spun around. The door was empty. I ran back to the car and didn't look back. On the third night, things got worse. The box felt heavier. I swore I heard something shifting inside. I told myself it was just my nerves. The address that night led me deep into the countryside. No street lights, no houses nearby, just an old barn surrounded by fog. I parked, headlights cutting through the mist. The barn door creaked open before I even got out. Against my better judgment, I approached. The box in my hand suddenly pulsed, a subtle vibration, like something alive inside was moving. I dropped it and stepped back. From inside the barn, a low groan echoed out, then footsteps. Heavy, slow, deliberate. I turned and ran. As I peeled away, I looked in the mirror. Something was crawling out of the barn. It didn't look human. The next morning, I tried calling the number that hired me. Disconnected. I returned to Ellery Street. The warehouse was boarded up, chained, and clearly abandoned. When I got home, the GPS device was gone from my car. In its place, on the passenger seat, was a new box. No label. No note. Just sitting there. I left it at a police station that night and never looked back. 2 weeks later, I saw the ad again, word for word, same number. I called from a different phone. A voice answered, "You're late." Tyler never took another delivery job, but every now and then, he still receives texts. No words, just an address. And each time, for a few nights after, he hears the whisper outside his window, calling his name. Amber was new to the city, living out of a cramped studio apartment and scraping by on minimum wage. When she saw the Craigslist ad, ISO Babysitter, nights only, great pay, cash, safe neighborhood, it sounded like the answer to her prayers. The listing was brief, no photos, just an address and a note. No experience required, must be punctual, discretion appreciated. The house was located in a wealthy part of town, a quiet street lined with trimmed hedges and motion sensor lights. When Amber arrived for the interview, the man who answered the door introduced himself as Mr. Lorne. He was tall, dressed in a pressed black button-down, and didn't smile much. "Single father," he said. "My daughter, Callie, is asleep by 8. You won't need to do much except be here. She doesn't wake up. She can't." She blinked. "What do you mean she can't?" Mr. Lorne's expression didn't change. "Medical condition." Then he handed her an envelope with $200 in cash. "That's just for tonight. Come back tomorrow if you're interested." She stayed for 4 hours. Nothing happened. The house was quiet, immaculate even. She never saw Callie. The door to her room stayed closed the entire time. Amber took the job. For the next 4 nights, the routine was the same. Arrive at 8, sit in silence, keep the TV low, don't open Callie's door. Mr. Lorne would leave promptly at 8 and return around midnight. He never said where he went. But by the 5th night, Amber started to feel uneasy. Not because of anything she saw, but because of what she didn't. There were no signs a child lived in the house. No toys. No drawings on the fridge. Not even a family photo. Once, she quietly opened the fridge. It was almost empty, except for rows of glass jars filled with a thick, dark liquid. No labels. When she asked about them the next night, Mr. Lorne didn't hesitate. "Her diet is restricted." Then he paused. "You didn't open the door, did you?" "No," she lied. He stared at her for a long second, then handed her another envelope, thicker this time. "Good." On the 7th night, the silence felt wrong. Amber kept glancing at the hallway. The air felt heavier, the house colder. And then, soft, almost delicate, she heard a knock. Not on the front door, from inside the house. She muted the TV. The knock came again. 3 soft raps. Amber stood slowly. It was coming from the hallway, from Callie's room. She approached the door and pressed her ear against it. Silence. Then, scraping, like fingernails on wood, and a whisper. "Mommy?" Amber's breath caught in her throat. The voice didn't sound right. It was too deep, too slow. She stepped back. Another knock, more urgent. Then the doorknob rattled. "Mommy, I'm hungry." Amber backed away, heart pounding, and ran for the front door. It wouldn't open. The lock turned, but the door wouldn't budge, like something heavy was pressed against it. Behind her, the hallway light flickered. The whispering grew louder. She turned and shouted, "Mr. Lorne?" No answer. And then, from behind Callie's door, she heard a growl, a low, wet sound like something dragging across the floor. Amber sprinted upstairs, found the bathroom, locked the door, and sat shaking in the tub. She waited. Eventually, the front door creaked open. She heard slow footsteps enter. Mr. Lorne's voice floated through the house. "You opened the door, didn't you?" She didn't respond. "You shouldn't have." Amber never went back. She changed her number, blocked the emails, left the city within the week. But months later, she saw another Craigslist posting while staying in her cousin's guest room. ISO Babysitter, nights only, no experience necessary, cash, safe neighborhood. Same wording, different city. And in the photo attached to this one was a dimly lit hallway. At the end of it,
Barely visible was a door with deep scratch marks all over the frame. Amber closed her laptop. She never spoke of it again.
Ben was 24, broke, and too proud to move back in with his parents. When he stumbled on the Craigslist ad, it sounded odd, but oddly perfect. Looking for someone who doesn't ask questions. $500 a night. Cash. One night only. No cops. No names. Must be discreet. Most of the sketchy ads he'd seen were obvious scams. This one? It had an address, warehouse district, outskirts of town, and a phone number. Something about how blunt it was made it feel real. He stared at the screen, then texted, "Interested. What's the job?" The reply came fast. "Show up at 10 p.m. sharp. Wear black. Gloves recommended. If you ask anything else, offer is off." Then hesitated. He'd done warehouse night shifts before. Odd jobs. Maybe someone needed help moving something they shouldn't technically have. He wasn't proud, just desperate. At 9:50 p.m., he parked behind the abandoned rail yard near the address. The building was a squat concrete block, windowless. A man was waiting outside, hooded, face obscured by a scarf and sunglasses even in the dark. "You're early," the man said, voice low, calm. Ben just nodded. The man unlocked the metal door and waved him in. Inside was cold and silent. No furniture, just exposed beams, flickering ceiling lights, and a massive tarp laid out across the floor. On the tarp was a large crate, wooden, nailed shut. "Here's the deal," the man said, handing Ben a crowbar. "You help me move what's inside. No talking, no questions. You leave when I say. Understand?" Ben's throat tightened. "Yeah." He pried open the crate. Inside was a long black body bag. Not zipped, tied shut with thick cord. The air changed, suddenly heavier, metallic. The man stepped back. "Help me carry it." Ben hesitated. "Is it?" The man's voice cut like a blade. "That's a question." He reached into his coat, and Ben saw the glint of metal. Gun. Heart thudding, Ben nodded and grabbed the bottom of the bag. It was heavy, too heavy, and warm. They carried it across the warehouse to a second door where an old minivan waited, engine running. The man opened the trunk. On 3, they loaded it in. The bag shifted slightly as it landed. Ben stepped back, trying not to gag. "You're not gonna kill me, right?" The man tilted his head. "You asked another question." He pulled something from his pocket. Ben flinched, but it was cash. Thick roll. "You did what I asked. Now leave." Ben took the money, turned, and didn't stop walking until he reached his car. He didn't look back. 2 days later, he saw the missing persons alert. 19-year-old girl, last seen leaving a community college campus, described as wearing a black hoodie and jeans. No known enemies. Friends described her as kind, quiet, a commuter, vanished without a trace. The photo made Ben freeze. He recognized the shoes. He hadn't noticed until he was helping carry the bag. Gray Converse, one torn at the heel, exactly like the ones in the photo. Ben threw up in the sink and deleted the Craigslist app. But it didn't end there. The next week, an unmarked envelope slid under his door. Inside was a flash drive. There was one video file. He watched it once. It showed grainy black and white footage from the security camera. Him, in the warehouse, carrying the bag, face visible,
clear as day. There was no audio, just a timestamp. The file name? I told you not to ask questions. .mp4. Ben packed a bag and left town that night. He tried to forget it. New phone, new job, new city. Still jumped at every knock on the door. But months later, he saw another Craigslist post, almost word for word identical. Looking for someone who doesn't ask questions. $500 a night. No names, no cops. Different state, different number, but the same tone, same wording. This time, Ben reported it. He gave the cops the post, the video, the description of the man. They thanked him, said they'd investigate. 2 weeks later, his apartment was broken into. Nothing was stolen, except his laptop. And on the fridge, spelled in black Sharpie, "You asked." Then moved again. Now he checks Craigslist obsessively, not to take jobs, but to warn others. Most of the time, the ads disappear before he can report them. But sometimes, they stay up for days, just waiting.
If you've ever answered a sketchy online ad, these stories should hit too close to home. Stay safe, trust your gut, because some Craigslist posts are more trap than transaction. Like, comment, and subscribe for more true horror stories every week.